Hi everyone, my name is Addie Brown and I'm looking forward to sharing my personality collage with you all. The first artifact I will be presenting to you is my bunny. I've had this stuffed animal bunny since I was probably 6 or 7 years old. It has always been on my bed and it has comforted me when I slept, and especially when my parents were out on date nights and a babysitter needed to put me to bed. This bunny is a good example of how I was a secure child, or someone who has managed to develop a confident faith in myself and my caregivers. I knew my parents would either kiss me on the forehead when they got home from their date, or I would see them in the morning. There was never a fear they wouldn't show up. My bunny was something I could hold on to until I saw them again. This whole idea of security comes from attachment theory, created by John Bowlby. The theory focuses on patterns of relationships with others that are consistently repeated with different partners throughout life. Bowlby wanted to understand how a person's early experience of love could shape their future. He describes the basis of love as attachment, and the reality is humans do not like to be alone. Because of this fear, they want to be protected. Your attachments created as a baby could be anxious ambivalent, meaning your caregiver's behaviors were inconsistent or chaotic. They could be avoidant, meaning they have been rebuffed in their attempt to enjoy contact, or secure, and what I've experienced in my stuffed animal bunny. The second artifact I have is my Bible. This specific Bible I've had since my senior year of high school, which means I've had it for 4 years. I've seen my parents read their Bible in front of me since I was a little kid. They have taught me what it means to follow Jesus, and I've chosen to have a relationship with him myself. The Freudian idea of transference is seen in attachment theory and shown in this specific artifact. Transference refers to applying old patterns or behavior and emotion to relationships with somebody new. Transference can continue throughout one's life and affect how they deal with relationships. Most importantly, early relationships with parents form a template for future emotionally important relationships throughout life. My relationship with my parents has grown and shaped who I am solely based on prayer and the ways they have encouraged me to follow Jesus. My relationship with Jesus positively affects how I interact with the rest of my family members, my friends, my authority, teammates, and those who are hard to love. The third artifact I want to show is this golf ball. It says, "Keep your mojo, Coach P." This golf ball is really special to me because one of my favorite basketball coaches gave it to me. It was during a time in college where I wasn't shooting very well. He would always tell me to get my mojo back, meaning just be confident in the fact that I am a good shooter. In psychological terms, emotionally important people are called objects, and the analysis of interpersonal relationships is called object relations theory. This theory was created by Melanie Klein and D.W. Winnicott. The biggest thing with this theory is that we can only relate to people how we view them in our minds, which might not be completely accurate. According to the text, object relations theory retains this idea from Freud: rationality can win overall. If we can think clearly and brush away the neurotic cobwebs, we can do what makes sense and relate to others as real people. This theory has 4 principal themes. Every relationship has satisfaction and frustration. There is a mix of love and hate. There is a distinction between the love object and the whole person. And finally, the psyche of the baby and the adult is aware of and disturbed by these contradictory feelings. I look up to my coach so much. He is emotionally important to me, hence why this golf ball means so much to me. My feelings can get distorted of him when he is correcting me or criticizing me on the basketball court. I've been forced to not see him as just black or just white, but to see him as a whole person. This golf ball reminds me of that and plays a huge role in my confidence today. The fourth artifact I have is this basketball. I have been playing basketball since I was about 6 years old. Basketball has always played a huge role in my life. I remember in high school when my dad would wake up with me early before school and he would rebound for me at the gym. My parents truly are my biggest fans, and they have supported me in all of my basketball dreams. It is easy to idealize my parents because of how well they raised me and just have been there for me in general. Idealization is a symptom of underlying hostility being defended at all costs. It is hard to believe my parents have flaws because of how they have loved me unconditionally, even when I did not perform well on the basketball court. Another idea in the objection relations theory is the phenomenon of splitting, which applies to other love objects as well. People aren't all good or all bad. Oftentimes, we can idealize people that we love. We can view certain people, like our parents, as perfect. As I've gotten older, I've realized how much idealization blinds reality and can stunt growth. My idealization of my parents actually forced me to work through some things in counseling and allowed me to have really hard but powerful conversations with my parents. These conversations wouldn't have happened without me growing into my personality and noticing how I have been limited in my personality when I was younger. The fifth artifact I want to show is this Polaroid picture of my grandparents. I grew up getting to see my grandparents a lot. They would support my brothers and I at our various sporting events and watch us if my parents were ever out of town. Before COVID-19, it was easy to take for granted my grandparents because they were just always there. Since COVID-19, I haven't seen them very much at all just for their safety. This picture, or sentimental attachment, reminds me that they aren't invincible and I cannot stop time. According to the text, adults have sentimental attachments to many things that represent important people in their lives. The purpose of these pictures and other sentimental keepsakes is to compensate in some small way for the fact that we cannot have our loved ones with us all the time or forever. One of the principal themes of the objection relations theory is that every relationship has satisfaction and frustration. There is no sense holding a grudge with those I love, especially my grandparents. This sentimental attachment hangs on a clothespin in my room and helps me to not forget how lucky I am. I have a strong personality with a lot of opinions. My sweet old grandparents can sometimes push my buttons. I get to choose to love them and pick my battles because this time on earth is so short and it's just not worth it. The sixth artifact I'd like to present is these two little books that I had my grandma and grandpa fill out for me. They have several questions about their family history in these books and just kind of what they experienced growing up. And it just shows a glimpse of where they came from. So I'm actually going to read my grandma's. What were the costs of everyday things such as food, clothes, movies, etc. when you were a kid? In 1950, when I was 12 years old, hamburger meat was 89 cents a pound. Potatoes were 45 cents, eggs 49 cents, milk 82 cents, loaf of bread 14 cents, butter 74 cents, gallon of gas 18 cents, a car $1,500, movie ticket 37 cents. In 1950, the average income was $3,200. My grandpa paid $1,000 for 4 years of college. So yeah, that just gives a glimpse of how they lived and grew up. According to the text, a tendency to aid and protect other people, especially close relatives, might help ensure the survival of one's own genes into succeeding generations, an outcome called inclusive fitness. This term comes from evolutionary theory, created by Charles Darwin. Evolutionary theory is the foundation of modern biology. Evolutionary theorizing begins with this recognition. Every human being is the latest in a long, unbroken chain of winners. In particular, your parents somehow managed to find each other and produce a child who progressed at least far enough as to be able to read this book. This theory assumes that human behavioral patterns happen because they were necessary to survive. As a protector myself, it is interesting and beautiful to see what my grandparents had to do to survive. I strive to protect those I love, especially my family. Family history definitely plays a role in who you become and what matters to you. The final artifact I have is my planner. If you know me, you know how much I love my planner. Here's one of my weeks that happened It really keeps me organized, helps me to know what's going on. My organized personality is shown in this artifact. The idea of individual differences is important in evolutionary theory. Although we are talking about survival of the fittest, without individual differences, evolution cannot occur. This artifact, although may seem small or not significant, it truly shows some of my biggest personality traits. Thank you so much for watching. I'm looking forward to looking at all of your guys' presentations, and good luck with the rest of the semester.